The Center for Educational Media and the College of Education at Middle Tennessee State University are proud to offer professional development to K-12 educators in Tennessee through our online video library. The following video is presented by the Center for Educational Media in partnership with Professional Educators of Tennessee's Leader U Conference. For more professional development videos, check out our website at cem.mtsu.edu.
Well, welcome. Good afternoon. I got my workout this afternoon, hauling in all that stuff out there, so I am going to leave plenty of time for you all to look through that, okay? If you see anything that you want to purchase that you can use with your own children or your students, just let me know, okay? Before I begin, I do want to acknowledge one person, and I hope she's not too bashful to stand. I want to introduce to you my mentor, my friend, and my boss, my colleague, Dr. Sean Turner. Could you please stand, please? Yay! So, you know, if anything goes wrong today, I make a mistake or anything, you can blame her. That's my mentor right there. But just to tell you a little bit about myself, I am a teacher for Metro. I have been teaching Gifted and Talented for the past 6 years, grades K through 4. I have 3 children of my own. I have a 17-year-old who just recently, if you do any type of media search, Facebook, anything like that, his soccer team just won the Region 3 championship yesterday in North Carolina, so he's going to nationals, so yeah, I'm excited about that. I have a 15-year-old daughter who also plays soccer, and then I have a 7-year-old son who told me he wasn't playing soccer, but he was going to do track. And when I asked him, you know, why track? He said, because I'm fast. And I said, well, who told you was fast? He said, I told myself I'm fast. I was like, all right, there you go, right? I love teaching Gifted and Talented, started with my kids, but I was teaching at Glendale Elementary School, and my job was going to be phased out. I had a regular ed classroom, but I had about 18 gifted students in there. And my boss came to me and she said, you know, we're phasing out your 4th grade position. Have you ever thought about teaching gifted? And I said, absolutely not. She said, but you have 18 gifted kids in your classroom. You know, I hadn't thought about it like that. So now I've been teaching gifted education for a long time. So, but I wanted to tell you a reason why I decided today to do a presentation on research-based curriculum for high achieving students. And it kind of goes back to my childhood. I mean, I'm sure if you can think about back to your childhood, you could probably think of why you decided to become educated. It probably has something to do with your education in the past. Could be maybe you had a bad teacher and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna make things better for my students. Or it could have been, I had an awesome teacher. So you wanted to be a teacher. But I remember, I was in high school, and I'm telling you, you can learn a lot from watching TV. I'm telling you, you really can. I mean, it was high school, I was up late, should have been in bed asleep. It was a school night, okay, I can admit that now, okay? And how many of y'all remember the movie Risky Business with Tom Cruise? You remember that movie? Okay, do you remember the couch scene when he was dancing on the couch in his underwear? Oh my goodness, it sold me on going to Princeton University. I was convinced. I said, if they're partying like that, I'm going to Princeton. I am going to Trenton, New Jersey. I remember the next day, I was so excited. I went to my guidance counselor. I went in, and I'm just like, give me everything you have on Princeton University. He didn't have anything. He said, have you thought about going to Tennessee State University? I'm like, well, no. Have you thought about you going to University of Tennessee, Knoxville, you know? No, I'm like, I want to go to Princeton. But he had no information, no handouts, no brochures, anything. And I mean, I was devastated, but I was convinced I was going to Princeton University. I started looking up all of this research on it. The campus was beautiful. I told all my friends, I am going to Princeton. I'm going. And they believed me. You know, I was smart, kept a 3.8 GPA, was taking all the honors classes, advanced classes that they had offered at my school. And I remember one of my friends, he told me, he said, you know, I read somewhere with Princeton University, they have a group of people coming to Memphis, Tennessee. I was like, really? He said, yeah. He's like, they're scouting kids or something. So I asked my mom, would she take me? She was gonna be working that day, she couldn't take me. I was calling all my relatives. So my great uncle decided that he was gonna take me. I'm like, yes, I'm getting closer, I'm so excited. And so he take me, and I remember I met, it was like kind of like a boardroom. And there was these people in their suits and ties and everything, and sitting up nice and straight, legs crossed. They asked me all these questions. And I was answering every last one of them. But then it came down to the curriculum. They said, you know, you kept a 3.8 GPA, nice job. But then they started asking me questions I couldn't answer about the curriculum. Those were things, as a kid, I had no control over the curriculum. No control. I had did my part, taking all the classes that my school had offered. And I'm like, well, what are you trying to say? And basically what they were trying to say was, you have done a great job with the resources that have been given to you and what your school has provided. But when we compare you to all the other students across the United States, you're gonna be put on the wait list and you probably won't get in. Oh my goodness, you might have said I had died or something. I was devastated. I mean, it changed. I mean, that was like my 10th grade year. And I remember that year, it was like, kind of like a blur. I was down. All my friends were like, there's other schools, but I didn't want other schools. I wanted Princeton University. I'm like, have y'all even seen the movie? You know, just watch the movie. Just watch the movie. Watch the couch scene. You ain't gotta watch all of it. Just watch the couch scene. And so I didn't know what to do. I mean, I really didn't. I talked to my mom, and you know, she was trying to be encouraging. Going into my 11th grade year, I had convinced myself, I have to move. I have to get out of here. I have to get out of West Tennessee because I have to get to Princeton. And I remember calling around, I had relatives in Chicago. And the reason why I chose Chicago is because I had done my research there. They had a lot of college preparatory schools. And I was like, wow, if I could just get in one of those schools, I'll be on my way. And so I began to just kind of do my homework. And then finally, my great aunt said, you know what? If you can get into the all-girls Catholic school that's in my neighborhood, I'll take you in. And you know, that would be the start of it. And I applied to the school. They didn't accept me because I wasn't Catholic. I was Southern Baptist. So I was like, oh, this is devastating. But God was on my side because that school went through financial problems and they started having to let other denominations in. And so I got a chance to go to the school. I mean, I was taking classes I had never heard of. I was on my way. And then my mom got cancer. And I said I had to make a decision. I could go to Princeton or come back to Tennessee. I was devastated once again, but my guidance counselor told me, she said, you know, there is a school that's kind of like the Harvard of the South. Like the Harvard of the South. She said a school called Vanderbilt. I had never heard of Vanderbilt, never heard of it. Born and raised in Tennessee, had never heard of it. There was no brochures on Vanderbilt University in my guidance counselor's office. He never told me about that. So I went on a visit to Vanderbilt, loved the school, and I said, you know what? It could work. Not as good as Princeton. There's no couch scene, no movies about it, but it could work, okay? So that's how I ended up at Vanderbilt University. I was on my way to Princeton, and by the way, I'm gonna get there one day. I'm convinced I'm gonna get a degree there. But I say that because advanced academics, the curriculum is so important. It is so important. And I know I have it up there, you know, it's for higher achieving students, you know, but it's really, and it's probably it's on my other slide here, it really is for all students. I mean, and it's what separates them. I mean, there's so many schools that students want to go to, and some of them want to go to the Ivy League schools. And, you know, it is not enough just to have that 3.8. And I did find out later on through some of the people that mentored me at Vanderbilt, because I was curious. I didn't have the highest GPA there. I mean, I didn't have the highest ACT score. In fact, my ACT score was a 21, okay? I'm like, how did I get in? It was my story. It was my story. And the fact that I was willing to go all the way to Chicago to relocate for the advanced academics. But some kids don't have that opportunity, that support. So it's like we have to do a lot better when we think about, what classes are we offering, these students, and, what are their goals, You never know. I'm saying, they're watching TV too, They may want to go to Princeton too. Maybe they've seen the couch scene. You never know. Okay, and this brings me to my slide. What is meant by, first of all, what is curriculum? What is curriculum? Anybody? When you think about the word curriculum, what do you think about?
Stuff to learn.
Stuff to learn. What else? We know that standard is kind of like the what you need to teach, and for our students. The curriculum is how you teach it. It's how you teach it. And so, what about research-based curriculum? If the curriculum is the how, then what is research-based curriculum? What does that mean to you? Anybody?
Proven.
Proven. It's been proven. Research-based curriculum is curriculum that has been tested out on higher achieving students or any child. Time has been put into it. Money has been spent on it to say, does this curriculum work with a set of students? Which students need research-based curriculum? And that goes back to my story. All students need research-based curriculum, not just your high-achieving students, all students. In fact, a lot of the things that I'm going to mention today, and I wanted to give credit to a lot of the professors that I have learned from. And some of these names you may be familiar with. I've learned from Dr. Tamara Stambaugh. She's at Vanderbilt University. She's a researcher. She's an educator. She's dynamic. And so these are not things that I'm inventing. These are things that have been taught to me. Dr. Donna Ford, she's another professor at Vanderbilt, does a lot with minority students and identification of minority students. And Dr. Carol Horn in Fairfax County, I learned a lot under her leadership as well when you're looking at the curriculum. And it means so much to me because I really don't think, and I have this conversation with my friends a lot, and we all, my closest friend, we all went to Vanderbilt together. And some of my friends that I went to school with in my rural high school, we have this question: do I think I would have ended up Vanderbilt had I not moved away? I don't think I would have. One, I was in a single parent household. My father passed away when I was 6 months old. We were on government subsidies. My mom did not have a car. And I was, when I would get my report cards and things of that nature, I would forge her signature. I lied a lot to my teachers because I tried to cover up what was going on in my household. My mom was alcoholic because she was depressed. She was really depressed. And at the time as a kid, I didn't realize it was a disease and she couldn't control it. But I learned early on that if I got good grades, my teachers and counselors didn't ask any questions because they saw me as that kid that made good grades. And I think deep down inside, they knew I was forging my mom's signature. But since I wasn't a problem kid, I didn't give them any trouble. They just left it alone. But I wasn't in any of the gifted programs back then because I had no one to really advocate for me, other than the fact that, when I saw that movie, I wanted to move. And that's what it took. But that was a huge step for me because when I went to All Girls Preparatory School, I started taking a lot of advanced classes. And even though my guidance counselor at the time in Tennessee did not push Princeton or Vanderbilt or Harvard, my guidance counselor at my new school did. I had more available resources because my friends say, you got out, okay? And I just think that advanced academics is so key to all students. It's very, very, very powerful. And I want to ask this question to you all, and I want you to think about this. Let's say you have 5 students, okay? You're the administrator, you're the teacher, you're the counselor. You have 5 students who are, have the ability to take an advanced chemistry class, okay? But only 5. You don't have, or you don't see that you have the other 20 to put in this high school advanced chemistry class. What would you do? As the administrator, as the teacher, what would you do? You got to think about funding, right?
Maybe offer early bird class.
Could you explain that? Could you offer?
The kids come at 7, and just do a class before school, just a completely voluntary type thing, if they wanted to.
Who's going to teach it?
That's the teacher.
You're going to pay the teacher early to come in? Okay. Anybody else? From where?
From the rest of the students. Also the class and people that are interested, students that are interested, allow them to take it, let those other students help build their knowledge and understanding as kind of like peers.
Okay. All are possible answers. And that's great because and what happens, you do have students in your schools who are able to take advanced classes, honors classes. But too often we'll hear the term, oh, well, we don't have enough students. We only have 5, we only have 6. Well, what about giving those students who, like you said, with the interest is there. Why not give them a chance? Sometimes you just have to give a kid a chance. And it's a great way to actually identify your students who would be, I guess, for your gifted programs, your academic talented programs. When you raise the rigor, when you raise the curriculum, when you raise the how of how you're teaching it, you let the curriculum decide or be the ultimate determinant of who gets in those classes versus a cutoff score, versus, oh, I'm sorry, you didn't score 98% on the examination, the pre-exam, the getting test, so sorry, you're out. Sometimes you do just have to give a kid a chance because they will, and you actually will change their future by doing that. Because then they're going to rise, But the key is you do have to give them the support. I mean, you do have to offer that support. Because some of those kids, you just leave them alone, maybe they won't, maybe they'll fail. You never know. But if you give them a chance, if the interest is there, like you said, you build the class, you start with those 5 or 10 who you say, okay, I know these kids can do it. Look at your classroom, look at your school and say, okay, who's interested? Because there's some kids who will be interested and they will rise to the occasion. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So I know that comes up a lot. So let's see here. All right, so now I wanted to talk to you about some research-based curriculum that I have used and that people have mentioned to me. One is project-based Clarion, and it's by the College of William & Mary School of Education. I really love their curriculum. It's very hands-on. It's mostly related to science. And some of the reasons why I like their particular curriculum, here's some of the topics. It's divided up into life science, earth science, physical science. And most of these are for your elementary grades, pre-K through 3rd grade. And here are some of your topics. You have how does your garden grow, survive and thrive, how the sun makes our day, what works, the weather reporter, dig it, what's the matter, invitation to invent. And one of the things that Project Clarion uses is the scientific investigation wheel, where they look at making observations, the student would ask questions, learn more, design and conduct experiments, create meaning from experiments, and tell others what was found from the experiment. And that's the actual wheel. And I included this in your printout because I was afraid of coming in here and the technology didn't work. And I was like, oh no, I got to make sure I have a printout there. Okay? And one of the things that really make this a rigorous curriculum for gifted students is that it looks at overarching concepts. For the Survive and Thrive, it looks at change as a generalization. So what the students begin to look at is where is change everywhere? Change relates to time. Change can be natural and man-made, or change can be random and predictable. And some of the other concepts would be systems. Sometimes we look at patterns, sometimes we look at cause and effect. But they have an overarching theme that guides the curriculum. And this is one of my favorites, the Survive and Thrive. It's one of the students' favorite too because they look at life science, they study animals in this particular unit, they actually look at mealworms. And we recommend this for first grade because in second grade, a lot of schools, the students start studying butterflies. Well, here they begin to look at complete metamorphosis at the age of 5 and 6, but they're using it with mealworms, and they're watching the mealworms turn into beetles, and they're designing habitats for their mealworms. They absolutely love it. It's gross, and they absolutely love it, I'm telling you. This is a picture of me teaching one of the Survive and Thrive classes at Vanderbilt, which I should have had the Vanderbilt on the logo. So if you recreate this, try not to use that picture there or make a reference that is from Vanderbilt Savvy. And I was teaching actually an all-male group here, and we were doing Survive and Thrive. And it was fun, it was rigorous, and they absolutely loved it, loved it. This was a week-long course. In fact, at the end of the course, the students wanted to come back for more. Here I'm teaching them to be scientists, how to think like a scientist, how to act like a scientist, how to look like a scientist. And you see, they just have on the adult t-shirts here. You can tell them that those are lab coats, okay? Say, all right, get your lab coats. And they come in, put their t-shirts on, get their goggles, and they went right to work. Very powerful, very powerful. Another unit I wanted to talk about would be the William and Mary School of Education, the literature arts. This goes all the way to high school. I really love these units. It starts with Beyond Words with grades 1 through 2. And I have these units in the back if you want to take a look at them. And the one thing about these units, they have the overarching thing. The history is there. It's very rigorous. And I don't want you to be misled. You may look at it, because when I first looked at it, I was like, oh, wow, this doesn't look like a lot of fun here, okay? It almost stopped me from really digging into it and teaching it. But it's very, very powerful, very powerful. The rigor is there, and also it's about how you teach it. I know a lot of it was my personality and getting in there and digging into the curriculum with them, but it's definitely research-based for grades K all the way to 12th grade. Go back and see here. Another was a social studies unit. And once again, this one goes all the way from 2nd grade all the way to 10th grade. And one of my favorite units was The Road to the White House. I have taught this twice. Once when President Obama was being elected, and also President Trump. The Road to the White House is very powerful because it looks at the history of elections, and they begin to understand the whole process. And they begin to analyze what goes on, and it was a really, really good lesson. Another one I like was the Ancient Egypt and the Ancient China, but they're all really, really good. Let's see here. And then you have the science units, where it's the beach, grades 2 all the way to 8th grade, no quick fixes. And when I start looking at some of the science units for the higher grades, I begin to find that they didn't have a lot for the high school, because at that point they're doing all the advanced chemistry and physics and all the AP courses there. And then you have the math. This is for your grades K-2. It has a lot of literature in there, a lot of hands-on. And the one thing I like about their math units is that it's project-based learning incorporated into the math. And so throughout these units, along with working on the skills and concepts, every day they're working on that big project that they're working on. And at the final day, of course, you invite their parents in, you invite the administrator in, other students in to actually see their final projects. And this is the one for grades 3 through 6 here. And I think I put these all in the slides there, and they're actually on the back table too. And this is a continuation there. And then you have, my favorite is the engineering is elementary. The one thing I love about engineering is elementary is that it's broken up into the different fields of engineering. You have the geotechnical, the electrical, the materials, the civic. I mean, it's all there. It's very hands-on. The students love it. It's very challenging. One of my favorite that I taught this year is designing maglev systems. This was very difficult, not just for me as a teacher, but also for the students. You talk about the collaboration. You do not have to ask your teachers to collaborate when they are teaching this unit. You will be forced to collaborate. I had to call other teachers outside the district to see, okay, how are you teaching that? You know, we can't get this to work and we can't get that to work. And it was truly a collaboration. And I would say this took us the whole year. I did not have to assign homework. The kids gave themselves homework. In fact, over the summer, the last day of school, they were like, Dr. Pendergrass, okay, all right, so when we go home this summer, we're gonna come back and we're gonna make changes to this and we're gonna make changes to that. They gave themselves homework over the summer. Very powerful. This was one of my favorite units right here. It was very challenging too. Okay, that's some more of the units. They're all there, ocean engineer, materials engineer, environment engineer, any type of engineer you want to go to, it's there. And this is mostly for grades 1 through 5. Okay, to introduce the maglev that I taught, one of the things that I came across was former President Obama was talking about the maglev system and how the United States was ready for it. And so to introduce this unit, I played it for them to introduce it. And it got them excited because they wanted to prove to former President Obama that they could do this. And they wanted to write him a letter. And they wanted to say, okay, we got to get this perfect so he can see it can be done in the United States. And then we're going to send him a model of what we've done. So I just want to play this video for you.
And Japan, the nation that unveiled the first high-speed rail system, is already at work building the next, a line that will connect Tokyo with Osaka at speeds of over 300 miles per hour. So it's being done. It's just not being done here. There's no reason why we can't do this.
In this small hangar outside New York City, two modern-day Wright brothers are quietly at work, building a machine that may seem as radical today as the airplane did a century ago. Gordon Danby and James Powell, retired scientists from Brookhaven National Laboratory, are finally creating what they have always dreamed of, a machine with no moving parts and no engine that can travel at fantastic speeds.
Interesting applications. Maglev potentially can go any speed. It's levitated and it can go thousands of miles an hour.
The crucial components to achieving that speed are these superconducting magnets, now being readied for testing. Danby and Powell need these tests to succeed if this vehicle is to become America's first magnetically levitated train. The key to Powell's idea was superconducting magnets. When a loop of superconducting material is cooled to a very low temperature, an induced electric current circulates endlessly, creating a powerful magnet. It can run for months on a single charge.
And another thing,
Powell knew he had the power to lift the train. He brought his idea to Danby, and together they conceived maglev.
and then Gordon came up with the idea of inductive loops of aluminum in the guideway, and so we were off and running.
In 1969, Powell and Danby received the first patent for a levitated train using superconducting magnets.
Our test vehicle using superconducting...
The U.S. wasn't ready for maglev, but another country was.
We realized that it had great potential. So did the Japanese, by the way. They immediately started coming and visiting us.
In 1996, the Japanese opened the Yamanashi test track at the foot of Mount Fuji, based on Danby and Powell's design.
And now, see...
Transportation is fundamental to our society. Maglev is inevitable. It will happen.
This is something that can be done, has been done, and can provide us enormous benefits.
So when I showed that to them, they got so excited. They were they were on board. They were to prove, okay, we can do this, we can do this. And in your slide, I have a picture where that picture there was a model that they made. And it was just a model, their first model, just to demonstrate how a maglev train system works. So it stands for a magnet levitation system. And so they took a box and they got some magnets just to show how it could levitate, how the levitation. So they started with that model, but then of course, kids, they want it to work. They want to see it move and go, and it went from this one small project and it got bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where it was just, I became literally the facilitator. And I remember calling one of my colleagues saying, you know what, is it okay that if I don't know all the answers? And I remember she said, absolutely. She said one of the highest forms of advanced academics is when they take over as the teacher role to the point where they're creating now. You said just step back and watch and see what they do. And they're still going on with this. I can't wait to see what they come back with over the summer because, they email me, it's like, I'm working on this is not working. Because one of the hardest part for them was actually finding the magnets that was strong enough to do what it wanted them to do, what they wanted the magnets to do. So it's very powerful there. Let's see here. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right, so now I have in there in your packet, I think I put in there all the information you need as far as like how to find some of the resources that I talked about. I know the EIE is in there, but I want to give you time because I have tons of materials back there. And I just thought that it would be a good idea for you to kind of look through it and see what's in them, what makes the rigor there. Some of them, like I said, don't be discouraged if you look at it and you're just like, oh, this is not fun. I'm telling you, it works. It works. It's very, very, very powerful. And I didn't have a lot of the high school things on there, but if you go to the Kendall Hunt website, you'll find a lot of things for high school kids, and you will even find things that they recommend for your honors and advanced classes. So, but before I end, does anybody have any questions that they want to ask me or anything?
So are you
Yes,
in a self-contained classroom and they come to you, or how do you do this?
Yes, I teach in a pull-out situation. So I go to the students and I teach gifted, talented, usually from 2 to 3 hours, 1 day a week. And then I also have talent development. So you talk about giving a kid a chance. So I do have students where, let's say there's a low population of students that have been identified, and so we're looking to identify more in our talent development classes. So I teach those students as well. Some of the schools may call them your RTI classes, your top RTI classes. So where I'm giving them the advanced academics, and then we're looking to see how they do on those so they can kind of go on and give them support for your honors and advanced classes.
And you teach at Vanderbilt in the school?
I teach at Vanderbilt in the summer, yes.
Oh, in the summer?
In the summer, their Summer Savvy program,
Okay.
yes.
Is that the only time you teach?
That's the only time I teach for Vanderbilt. Throughout the year, I'm teaching for Metro schools.
Are you teaching gifted there?
Yes.
And how does that work?
Yeah, that's the pull-out. Yes,
program?
yes, yes. I'm a full-time Metro employee throughout the year, and then the summer, I teach for Bethel, and then throughout the year, I also teach for Bethel University in their Master of Education program, teaching their students, their graduate students who are wanting to become teachers, and I educate them on how to identify gifted and talented students once they get in the school system.
So do you go to several schools, or you stay in one school?
Last year I had 3 schools. This year I will have 2. Yes. Anyone else have any questions? Yes.
I understand benefit, and I love it, of the different, whatever you call them, curriculum?
Yes,
in here?
yes.
But I was wondering, since it teaches in detail, and they have to do some things themselves, and they end up really loving it and being into it, could you take any one of these, like during an RTI, take it something that's a year or 2 or 3 below grade level and help students who are struggling? Would all that extra benefit the struggling students?
Absolutely. In fact, the way the EIE is written, they have a section for your high achieving, average, and your students who are struggling. So it's differentiated for those students as well. And then also, Engineers Elementary also have another set of program. They call it their after-school program that is more for your average kid that you're trying to bring up. And then they also have the curriculum for your gifted, academically high talented students as well. So so they have different curriculums that are differentiated. Yes.
How do you get the units by William and Mary School of Education?
They're through the Kendall Hunt Publishing. So if you go to, I think I have that on the back page in there. Yes. So if you go there and you can click on, they have so much more as well. Like I said, it's divided up into the disciplines. So you can click on math, science, algebra, it's all listed there. They have a lot of curriculum. Anyone else? Okay, I have a joke I want to tell. So, you know, in my next life, I picture myself as a comedian, you know, just in case, you know, this teaching thing don't work out, because you know how you get new administration, they come in, they try to move people around. Okay. So, I just want to tell you a joke before you leave. All right, so there was this college student. He was in fraternity, and he had a paper due the next day. So he goes to his frat brothers, and he's like, oh man, you know, he's like, I got this paper due, and I haven't worked on it. So his frat brother's like, oh, no, don't worry. Come on, let me show you. So they go to this filing cabinet. They got all these papers. He said, just, you know, what are you looking for? So went in there. He picked out the subject he was looking for. The paper was already written and everything. He just changed the name on it. He turns it in, gives it to his professor, and he gets an A on it. But it's conscious. It's wearing on him. He's like, oh, man, I shouldn't have done that. But his frat brothers tell him, no, dude, it's everything good. You got an A, let it go. So he couldn't let it go. He went to his professor. He told him, he said, I have a confession. You know that paper I did? It wasn't my paper. The professor looked at him. He said, I know. He said, well, if you knew, why'd you give me an A on it? He said, I wrote that paper 30 years ago and got a C on it, and I knew I should have got an A on it, so I gave you an A. Thank you for attending my session. Thank you.